Hello, everyone. I'm Pat Flanagan for Richard Madison's IM.Tools and Lightspeed Technologies. I would like to welcome you today to our very special workshop. We're so glad you could make it. You are in for something really big. You're going to meet a mystery man today who has done some super in-depth research into Google, including even diving deep into their patents, crazy stuff, all to figure out how Google's brain works. And what he's done is he's discovered some specific signals in Google that can shoot a website onto page one. International companies, big ones like Virgin and ASICS, have paid him big money to work his special magic on their websites. But today, he's going to reveal his secrets to you right here, right now. Now, don't let the research part scare you off. This is all going to be easy to understand. And the best thing is, nobody else is doing it. So without any further ado, I'm going to hand you over to Todd, John, and Chris, our hosts. They are all complete dinosaurs like I am, who have been involved with SEO from the start of the internet, and they are amazed, and so am I, by what you're going to discover today for the first time. They're going to introduce you to the man of the hour with the superpower. Take it away, guys.
All right, Pat. Thanks for that great introduction, man. We really do appreciate it.
You got it.
So, guys, my name is Todd Spears. In just a minute, we're going to get to John and Chris, but I kind of want to do a little bit more, just for a couple of minutes here and talk to you guys for a little bit about, a little more in depth about what we're going to be covering today. As Pat said, we've all three of us have been involved in the internet and specifically SEO and ranking sites and all that kind of stuff for, since the 90s, basically. So we've seen it all. We've all been involved in creating new softwares, new technologies, and disseminating information on what needs to be done out there in order to rank in Google. And if you've been trying to rank a site in Google, or you've been following along on how to get sites ranked in Google, you know already that things change. And Google has updates, and they change the game all the time. That kind of keeps most people out there guessing on, oh my gosh, what happened? Why did my site go up? Why did my site go down? What's going on? There are a lot of other blogs out there, and people do publish information on all these kinds of things. So you can go out there and look it all up and read it, and you'll see that indeed things do change a lot. But what we're going to be doing today is really covering in depth on what we call Google's rank brain. Actually, they call it that. What it takes to rank in with a healthy site, moving it from page 3, page 2, all the way up into page 1, and then some other neat little things that we do as well in order to get our sites and specific information into the suggestions box. All right, really powerful stuff. My good friend Chris, I've known Chris for a few years now, and he's super smart, great guy, has a great development team that develops great software to help all of us internet marketers and search engine optimizers, get the job done, easier, faster, and not as costly. And then my other partner on this is John Limbacher, and I've known John for probably, I think we met for the first time around 2006 or 7. It's been a long time. We met at an event that I was speaking at, and John was in the audience, and during a break, he came up to me and we started chatting, and we just hit it off great, and came to realize rather quickly that John knows what he's talking about. And as Pat mentioned, and I mentioned, John's been in the SEO world for since the 90s, and has done some great work for a lot of big companies. So he really knows his stuff. He really knows how it all works. And today you're going to learn a lot. You're going to learn a lot of really cool things. You're going to be able to go out over a few drinks and impress your friends and let them know what it takes. One very interesting strategy that you can use in order to push your sites up in Google. And I believe it's one of the most important. And it's also something that, as Pat mentioned, that's not done by very many people at all.
Right.
They don't quite know that this one is one of the big ones that makes the needle move. So I guess without further ado, I will let's say hi to Chris first. Chris, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you great. Thanks for the intro. Appreciate it.
All right, cool, guys. That's Chris. He's going to be more or less in the background helping me answer all the questions. Chris is he's the one that runs our huge development team and keeps everything moving along smoothly. All right, so next up, John, can you hear me?
Yep, I am here.
All right, John, I can hear you. I can hear you really well too. So, guys, I guess I'm going to step back right now. I'm going to help Chris over in the Q&A section. Again, if you do have any questions, use the Q&A icon at the bottom, and Chris and I will be over there focused on that. John's going to be focusing on this presentation right now, and really that's all I have to say. And we'll be chiming in from time to time during the presentation, but for the most part, John, the show is yours.
All right. Hey, thanks a lot. I will take it away here. All right. So, guys, what we're going to be talking about here is high search volume keywords. These keywords are worth a lot of money, especially if they're buyer keywords. I'll get a little bit further into that, what a buyer keyword is here in just a minute. But, you know, for those of you that have been doing SEO for any length of time, I feel your frustration. I mean, we are right there with you. We fight the good fight, and it's really lays a lot of times back onto me to figure out, you know, what's going on and why did our keywords go down or why did they not go up to begin with? And that's what we're going to cover here. The reality is very few people know how to rank these type of keywords or any keywords for that matter anymore. It used to be easy. But you know, the last couple of years have really switched the game up, and I call it Google 2.0. Very few people know how to play the game after Google 2.0. But you know, the deal is we know how to rank these keywords, and so do our students. I teach a lot of people how to do this stuff. I've been teaching people online the SEO game since about 2008. And I'm just going to show you some of what I'm talking about here. This is one of our students, Andrew. When I taught him what we're going to show you guys today, he does client work. And he said a new client with no first page rankings now has all their keywords in the top 10. First page of Google. This is Andrew. This happened within about 30 days of using the technique I'm going to show you guys. We use this on all kinds of stuff. Here's an example. This is a screenshot of a SEMrush report from a day spa. And you can see the climb there. When we implemented this technique, it took off, increased their traffic, 32%, increased their keywords 4%. Really cool stuff here. Got a ton.
John?
Yeah, go ahead.
This is Pat. Can I jump in just for a second here?
Sure.
And maybe I'm anticipating something you're going to talk about, but just the first thing that always comes in my mind with SEO, especially when someone says, oh, I can get your site guaranteed on page 1. They're always talking about like these sentence long phrases that nobody ever searches for.
Yeah.
And they'll go, like for a day spa. Well, I can get you number 1 in Google for hottest spa in the north side of Seattle, which no one is ever going to search for. And that's not what we're talking about here today, right?
Exactly. Yes, that's a really good point. I'm talking about actual buyer keywords.
Right.
We're talking the ones you actually want. Some
of
them.
I'll shut up now.
No. I'm glad you brought that up. That's really an important thing. And another thing too, there's a lot of these guys that guarantee stuff. There really are no guarantees in the SEO world. There's so many different factors. Even with what I'm going to show you, there's still a matter of if someone else is going up against you with the same stuff, you're battling head to head. So they're really, and the other thing, Google, as you know, can all of a sudden shift the game at any given time. So
it's a moving target.
Exactly. But I've been playing this game since the mid '90s, and I know I've actually been able to anticipate when the target's going to move. And that's been a really big advantage to me and to all my clients and all my students. So pretty cool stuff we're going to be going through here today. Here's another one anyway. This is a water sports company. Talk about exactly what you were talking about. These guys, we got this particular company ranked for a keyword that brought them $100 million project to build a water park in Dubai. So that was not some obscure keyword. That was a pretty good one. Anyway,
slightly big.
Exactly. Here's a life insurance company. When we implemented this, they were pretty steady, but that little graph there, it doesn't look like much, but that was a 92% increase in their overall traffic and 8% up on their keywords, which, they were already at 400 keywords ranking. So that's pretty significant. Here's another one. This is something I wanted to show you guys as an example. Even though we had their traffic up and their keywords up, what happened was when we implemented, they went up and then they dropped. Some people call that the Google dance. This is fairly typical in any type of SEO. I don't care if you're doing link building or blog directories or whatever you're doing. If you're doing custom sites, new sites, old sites, if you start doing something different, what happens a lot of times, and this is based on an actual patent inside Google, is they will pull the rug back on you, and the reason they do it is they want to see if you alter course. Some people call it the Google dance, but I call it the Google trap. You've also heard it called the sandbox. I'm calling it the sand trap, because here's what's going to happen. If you start doing an SEO tactic and Google pulls it back on you and you alter course, they're going to know they got you. So it's really, really important for anyone in this space that when you start doing SEO, you hold the course. Even if they give you negative results, you hold the course. It's kind of like that old antiperspirant commercial, never let them see you sweat. And what will happen, I can almost guarantee, I can't tell you how long the drop is going to last, but when it's over, you'll go back up and you'll be better than you were before. This also includes, like, I saw a lot of people doing blog networks, private blog networks. And at one point, Google went through and they swatted a whole bunch of those. And when I say SWAT, they actually banned the domain. They kicked them out of Google. All the people that had that happen, I told them, I said, hold on to those domains. Just leave them alone. Just let them sit there. Let them percolate. 2 years later, it was 2 years to the day, they lifted the ban, and every one of those sites now almost has diplomatic immunity. It can get away with anything. And the reason behind it, I'll tell you, the reasoning behind that patent is Google is trying to figure out who's gaming the system. If you prove that you're not gaming the system by not altering course, they reward you with credibility. So those sites, after they came back online 2 years later, I know that's a long wait. I mean, you guys might not want to, you might not be in a position to wait 2 years to get your traffic back so you can do other things on other domains. But don't throw those things away. Let them percolate. They will be good in the long term. Anyway, that's why I use this slide. I want you guys to see what it looks like. Your traffic will go up, then it'll go down. Just hold the course. It's coming back. All right, so what happened? I mentioned Google 2.0. What is that? Basically traditional SEO is gone. If you've been playing this game and you're doing link building and creating content and creating blog posts, all that really difficult work and getting no effort for it, this is what happened. I call it Google 2.0. It's favoring big brands. Like I said, traditional SEO is kind of out the window at this point. Unless you're a big brand, you're really going to have a tough time in the SEO game. And that's what I'm going to show you how to fix here. So the big thing, what happened, it was Google's rank brain. It's artificial intelligence is what it really is. I know RankBrain, people in the SEO field have been talking about RankBrain now for several years. But the thing is, nobody really understood what it was. They were making all kinds of speculations. But when Chris and I really kind of dug into this, I'll talk a little bit more about the patents later. But when we dug into it, we found out the truth, and it was artificial intelligence at work. That was what was going on behind the scenes. And based on what we learned, I'm going to be able to show you right now how we easily rank these buyer keywords. We do this for ourselves, we do it for our clients, and we can do this with literally no fear of penalty because we're doing it completely naturally. That is the cool part. When was the last time you did something in SEO that you couldn't get penalized for? Probably never. Okay, so our new strategy, what it does, it trains RankBrain. It actually shows RankBrain who belongs at the top. This is what's going to help you rank. And another really cool feature of this is it takes about 2 minutes to get it installed, to get it working. That's the implementation time. I have done it over and over and over, and you have to do your keyword research first. That's a little bit more than 2 minutes, but once you know the keywords, when you've figured out the right keywords to actually implement this strategy, you can do it in about 2 minutes. So it's not a lot of work, let's just say. All right, here's another one. Here's some more examples. Here's a publisher just literally went vertical from being flat forever. Here is a prosperity company, same thing. Look at the traffic on that, 860%. That's crazy. This is from July. This is not very far back. You know, this is July 24th of this year, this report was run. So I'm not showing you stuff from like years ago. This is all from this year, right now. Here's another one, accounting firm. Same thing. In most of these sites, by the way, didn't have anything going on. Most of them were flat at zero, doing nothing. Here's a facial company. Again, 300% traffic boost. And they only have 49 backlinks. You know, in some of the promos we talk about, this is SEO without backlinks. Now, I'm going to talk about backlinks here in a minute. They still are important, but this is really, really effective whether you're focused on your backlinks or not. So back to who we are. Todd had mentioned me and Chris. Me and Chris are really the ones behind this. You know, I'm John. He does all of our programming. And I had developed a predecessor to this, a predecessor technique and a software back in like 2012 because I had anticipated this. And then more recently, Chris came in and we started talking about the new stuff. And there's Chris and I right there. We started talking about the new stuff. And he said, hey, he goes, I have this incredible team. I can make this all come to life. So that's how we kind of teamed up on this. And we've, like you've heard, we've both have been at this for over 20 years. Now, this is actually a shot of some of the clients that Chris has. And Chris, I'm going to call you out here in a minute, so you might unmute yourself.
I'm ready.
Yeah, go ahead. You want to kind of talk about some of these guys and some of your expertise and
you bet
accomplishments.
So I gotta say, I have never heard of any of these companies.
Yeah, they're pretty obscure. Besides the hundreds of small businesses that John and I have worked on, we've actually worked on some larger companies too. Just to kind of give you an idea, these are some of them, that they're not all. I mean, we've worked for Microsoft and a couple others as well. And we used to do like SEO audits for Virgin. And so that was pretty fun to work with those guys. We've done work for, like you see up here, like Nike and Hurley. If you like, you type in board shorts right now for Hurley. You're going to be able to see that we still rank for board shorts. That's a big one for them. This one right here for Nike and Asics right here, we got them ranked in the autocomplete section right here many years ago, and this is still ranking right here because this is one thing where once they kind of get up there, they support themselves. And it's very much like what you're going to experience now. Like once you start ranking, this process is going to support themselves because popular sites support themselves. And so getting up there is the hard part. Staying up there is easy. So
just to kind of break in there for a minute, Pat, wrestling shoes, do you think that's kind of an obscure keyword or maybe a buyer type keyword?
Well, let's see. If I needed to get some wrestling shoes, and God knows why I would need to get wrestling shoes myself, but having had high school kids, I get that, I might type in something like wrestling shoes.
Yeah, this was actually a really important keyword for them. We actually did 26 keywords just like this. This is just one example. They had a serious problem moving their wrestling shoes. They could not get them up, their sales up. And so this was a really critical keyword for them. And so this is really what brought them back into the game for wrestling shoes, especially for ASICS. Nike was outselling them. And but ASICS was like, they weren't even on the map for wrestling shoes, but they create great wrestling shoes.
And they're ranked above Adidas on that list there, which is pretty good.
Yeah. So anyway, this is one thing that we did for ASICS, and that was a fun project to do, and Nike as well. So anyway, that was some of the bigger companies we've worked with in the past, and actually how we've learned how all this process works. So these were really critical functions for us to do that most people don't have access to be able to learn things that other people just can't know. So anyway.
And hey, if I can jump in for a second too, because see, looking at this is something that I've known about it, but I hardly ever think about it. If you're listed on this list of recommendations, you're totally superseding all of the other search results. If you type in wrestling shoes and hit enter, that's great. They're going to be up on that page. But if you can be on this list and the person can just click right on wrestling shoes Nike or wrestling shoes ASICS, you've just taken all the other competition and thrown them away. This is some really powerful stuff.
It's a very interesting process for sure.
Yeah. That is probably one of the biggest things to this. And this is actually one of the keys. One of the key factors here is the brand recognition. The fact that Google is showing those major brands is because of brand recognition. They realize their artificial intelligence has told them that when people look for wrestling shoes, these are the common ways they're looking for them. They're looking for specifically for Nikes, for ASICS, for purchasing them at Big Five. So they're recognizing these searches, and that's who's dominating search now, is the people that are showing up with the brand connections. So literally, if they recommend your brand and somebody clicks on that, and it's a great point, Pat, that you said, this precedes even the search results. This is coming up before they even get to the page. So if Google makes this recommendation for your brand and they click on it, you're going to dominate. You're going to own that page. You have literally just wiped out all of your competitors. So that's another really cool thing about that. Was there anything else, Chris? I didn't mean to cut you off there.
I think that's good. Yeah, keep running.
Okay, cool. So really the next thing here is I'm going to get into the kind of the meat and potatoes here. So I need you guys to just forget what you thought you knew about SEO, because all of that stuff, like I said, a lot of it is still in place, but there's a lot of new stuff here. And I need you guys to really focus on this and understand this is real. This is not speculation. We're doing this stuff and it's actually working. So I'm going to talk about cracking the patent, cracking the Google code here. When a lot of people look at patents, they see something like this. They're like, oh my God, what is that? They don't even want to look at it. It hurts. But, when we dig in, what happens is certain things start to float to the surface and they become important. And one of the first things that Chris actually noticed was the connection between navigational search. And later we noticed an even deeper connection to navigational and brand search. And even expanded upon that, we noticed a thing called pogo sticking, which I'm going to cover here in a minute. And these are all such powerful signals. what we what we got out of this was there's kind of three breakdowns of types of searches that Google is kind of identifying and putting in boxes. You've got your informational searches, which is the majority. It's 80% of search. This is just random questions. These are those long tail questions that really don't lead to sales. It's just kind of goofy stuff that who cares really. And that's what most people are focused on. That's what most people wind up ranking for, and they don't make any money. They work really hard. They get ranked for a bunch of junk, bunch of bogus stuff, and then it doesn't work. Their business fails. Transactional searches, these are the ones, these are really good searches to have. This is stuff for like when people are looking for your product and the price. That's a pretty good indicator they want to buy it. Those are really good keywords. But the thing that really moves the needle is the navigational stuff. These are a little bit longer tail, but they're very, very specific. It's like when somebody's looking for a dentist in a particular place. This is something where they're searching for you and they know you exist. And when you couple that with brand, it just becomes explosive. Those are explosive signals to send through to Google saying that you're important. If you guys think that brand isn't important, you can pull up Google right now and you can run a search for almost anything. I don't care what it is, you're going to get major brands at the top. If you're looking for any kind of product, you're going to see big brands like Amazon, eBay, Target, Walmart, Home Depot. You're looking for something in the home realm, you're going to get Home Depot. It's not because they've optimized for the search, it's because the users out there have told Google when they're looking for a faucet washer, they know that it's at Home Depot. They want to find it on the Home Depot site. That's a navigational search.
It has credibility.
Yes, it has a lot of stuff. It has credibility. It has all kinds of factors and signals behind it, which tells Google what's important.
Well, and that goes back to something you were saying earlier too about things being tested out by Google. You get listed and then pulled back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Google knows that someone like Home Depot isn't going to be playing games.
Exactly. Yeah. And as far as the navigational searches themselves, here's some of the stuff that it actually tells Google. This represents real users' actual search behavior. It shows their intent. Like their intent is to go to Home Depot, but they want to see the thing on the site. They don't want to go to Home Depot's homepage. They want to see the actual page that this thing belongs on so they can get some information. Another thing, in the old world, in the Google 1.0 realm, everything was all about links. So we showed popularity versus links. This is showing the difference in popularity via search versus links. So links was really easy to game the system. Search is not so easy. So that's why Google shifted to it. When we look at where things are going to move, that's what we're basing our predictions on, is based on what's going on right now, how the SEO world at large is manipulating the results. I can almost tell you what Google's going to do to counter effect that. And, this was one of our early predictions here that this was going to come, and it's here in full swing now. So ultimately, these navigational searches, they are training RankBrain to show them who belongs at the top of the search. And until now, these were almost impossible to manipulate. You could have done it with micro workers, but I'm going to tell you why that's probably not such a good idea here in a minute. So one of the first things that actually proved this was real was this was going back a few years now. This was Rand Fishkin from SEO Moz. He had a huge Twitter following. And he went out to his Twitter audience and he said, I want to do a little test with you guys. Can you help me out? And what they did, he had some random thing here that was IMC Lab, and his site there was on number 7, the Moz.com IMEC Lab. I don't even know if that was a real thing or not. You search for it today and it's completely gone. So I think this was just a test done, a few years ago to prove this point. But anyway, it was at 6:03 p.m. here when he reached out to his Twitter following, and he said, hey guys, I would like you to go to Google and type in IMEC space lab, hit the search box, run that search, and click on my Moz.com listing, and let's just see what happens. Well, 3 hours later, lo and behold, at 9:01 p.m., that activity, that user experience activity, had told Google that site belongs at the top. That page belongs at number 1, and that's exactly where they moved it. This was in a 3-hour time period. And we're still seeing stuff like this take place today because Google's RankBrain is watching. It's not updating weekly or monthly or even daily. It's looking by the minute. It's looking for trends. It's looking for activity. So this is really powerful stuff. And it proves that it's absolutely true. The user experience, the user interaction signals, this is Google's new weapon of choice against the SEO world. So if you're focused on link building and content and all that, and you don't have this covered, good luck. You're missing a third, and I truly believe it's more than a third. But just for the sake of simplicity, you're missing a third of the algorithm here.
It makes total sense. I mean, yeah. Google wants to give people real results that they are looking for. So if people are looking for that one particular link that they keep clicking on, Google will move it up.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the on-page stuff is still important. Come on, you've got to convert. You've got to get that part right. The backlinks, the authority links from outside, that's what grabs Google's attention to begin with. But I guarantee if you don't have this navigational search stuff going on, you're never going to stick and you're never going to stay at the top. You might get there temporarily while they split test you, but as soon as they see others have that, you're going to be gone. And this is what it's going to feel like. This is why SEO is so hard. This is you trying to push this big boulder up the hill without having a bulldozer to do it. So that's where you guys are at. That's why I can feel your pain. I've been there. I've been there many times. Every time Google switches up, it feels like this. So that's why this is so exciting and so important, because this tactic is going to make SEO so much easier for you. I'm going to talk and show you guys what the new search signals are that make up this third of the algorithm. And like I said, I truly believe it's more than a third. I think it's probably half or better at this point.
Get out your paper, get out your pen,
exactly.
Write your stuff down. And if you have any questions, just as a reminder, use that Q&A button at the bottom of your screen and put that question in. Don't be shy. Go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. So the one at the very top of this is searches from mobile devices. A lot of the guys that were trying to game the system and trying to do this, they were all doing it from desktop. Google kind of caught on to that, and now they want to know that it's coming from actual mobile devices. They also look at proximity search, and here's one of the things I told you could do this with micro workers and why that might not be such a good idea. Most of those micro workers are overseas. They're not in the general proximity of your business. They're not even on the same continent. So that doesn't look very natural. So that's why proximity search is one of the signals that Google looks at. Now, when I say proximity, I'm talking about in the general vicinity. It doesn't have to be like within 5 or 10 miles even, but even like within the same state or even just heavily weighted toward that area. Like, let's say you try and do this and you're in a very remote location. Google knows that. They understand there's probably not a lot of people around you to run these searches. But when they see them in general proximity, closer than the farthest outskirts of the world, that's what I'm talking about here. So proximity search is really important. Like I said, the navigational searches, searching for things that people should actually know are inside your site. Those are triggers. Those are signals to Google that people understand who you are and why they want to go to you is important to Google. Google doesn't need to know why. They just need to know that people want to know about you. And that brings us to brand search. This is the big one. This is the thing that is making it unfair to the little guys. I mean, think about that. If you sold the same products as Home Depot, what chance do you stand of having people running as many brand searches for you as the people that know about Home Depot? That has just made this game incredibly unfair to all of us that have these, smaller type businesses. Even a lot of our clients, a lot of our clients are not small companies. I deal with a lot of companies in the, 2 to 10 and even upper than that, millions of dollars in annual sales. Those are not home-based businesses for the most part. And it's incredibly unfair even to them. So think about the little guys. I mean, think about the affiliate marketers. You guys just don't stand a chance without this. And this one is the most powerful of all. The last one here, number 5, is revised search combining brand. Now that might sound a little obscure, but let me tell you what that means. That means if someone ran a search for you and they didn't find you, they went back to the search box and revised the search to add your brand to the keyword. Now, I had mentioned pogo sticking before. That's what pogo sticking is. It's when you pogo stick over to the right, you didn't find what you wanted, so you pogo stick back to the left. You're pogo sticking around to find out where you want to go. And Google's watching. They're keeping track. They're keeping score. So the pogo sticking is really important. A lot of people base this on bounce rate. It's kind of the same thing. If Google sends somebody to your site and they pogo stick back, they bounce back, that's a really bad signal. Google doesn't like that. Think about how they like that on their own site. They sent a result out that the user didn't like. They got rejected. You bounced on Google. That's a pretty good signal that Google didn't do the right thing. So that's what I talk about. When we talk about training Google's rank brain, this is how we're doing it. We're pogo sticking, telling them what we actually wanted, and then clicking through. Just like what Rand Fishkin did. He sent enough signals to Google that he sent his site right to the top. That's what we're doing. This is really cool stuff. When you do this right, it creates this trust inside Google, and Google will want to give you top rankings, not just for the keyword that you just used, but for a lot of related keywords. You guys that are in e-commerce, you know how hard it is to optimize for thousands of keywords. If you've got a bunch of different products, when you do this right, Google trusts your site, they'll automatically raise the value of all of those keywords. You don't have to do this for thousands of keywords to get this done. You have to connect your brand to enough of the major keywords so they get the picture, and then they bring them all up. That's why Home Depot ranks for millions of pages. It's literally, Amazon's the same thing. They've got millions of products. Not all those products are optimized, but Google's got enough signals to know, hey, when somebody's looking for a product in this realm, let's just send all of them to it. Let's just send any variation of this keyword to this, because we know that's what people are looking for. So really, really powerful here.
Helps the big get bigger, doesn't it?
Exactly. It's like a snowball effect.
Right. So that means that if someone small can harness this power, they can get bigger in the same way.
Exactly. And that's the whole meat and potatoes behind our whole technique here.
I try.
Yeah, no, you're right on topic here. You're right on the money. So when we're doing these signals, we're having these signals come from mobile devices, desktop devices, random searches from random users in random areas, running these searches, pogo sticking on Google to send those signals for you. And what that does, it gives you more top listings, more traffic, more leads, more sales, and ultimately more profits. Again, I'm making the assumption now you know how to convert your traffic, but with all of that in place, this just really works like dynamite. So we built a machine. You know, I've been alluding to this technique. We actually built a machine that does this for you. When I was talking about 2 minutes to set it up, it's 2 minutes to plug your keywords into this machine and cut this thing loose. It's called Site Pop because it pops your site to the top. And it provides all 5 of those critical factors that I just went through with you guys. It provides all of those. And again, back to that third of the rank, I think it provides probably half of the algorithm. This, I can assure you, this is the only tool out there that addresses all 5 of these signals. There's a few people that have been trying to play this game for years and they were never really that effective at it. I can assure you, everyone we've tried this with has gotten great results. The only ones that didn't get good results were the ones that did exactly what I told them not to do. So again, what Site Pop is doing for you, it's giving you randomized customer searches. These are actual real users running these. You know, these are real user devices. We're not using proxies. We're not using anything bogus. That's where I said we can do this completely safely. This is real cell phones, real computers, real users. It's not just a bunch of robots. This is real stuff. It provides mobile search signals. This is actually running these search signals off of real people's cell phones. It does navigational searches, and it also pogo sticks. So it's training RankBrain. It's training RankBrain that it's going to run the search, and when RankBrain doesn't send them the right signal, they're going to pogo stick back until it does. So eventually, Google will get the picture that you're the one they're looking for and that other people might want the same thing. So that's where you can get up there in the recommended drop-down box. If you hit that, we didn't build it for that, but that's kind of a side byproduct of what this does. And I guarantee you, if you get Google to recommend you in that drop-down box when somebody starts a generic search for a product or something, that's going to change your business. That's going to change your life. So again, it's completely safe and natural. Our customers' devices make up the network. So you're probably wondering, you know, where we get all these cell phones and all these devices. It's all of our customers. We've got customers all over the world right now. We're scaling this up, and it's becoming incredibly powerful. Each device, like when you join the network, your devices will become part of the network. Each device will run approximately 17 searches per day per device. Random searches for other people in the network, and theirs will be running random searches for you out of the network. They'll be focused on proximity as much as possible. Like if you're in the Dallas area, for instance, you'll be getting a lot of searches from that general area, and then it will go lighter as it spreads out across the country. I saw a guy in here from South Africa. It's interesting, we've already got devices populating in that part of the world already. So there might not be a huge amount, but it doesn't take a lot of devices to really make this happen. And as it goes out, it's going to search for the devices that are closest to you. So it's still going to be grabbing, you know, other devices around the, you know, other parts of Africa, but it's going to hit them hardest from the closest devices. So we've got them all over Europe, all over Australia now, and the US is highly populated. Canada is getting hit pretty hard too. So we're right on track with populating this network out through the whole world and making it incredibly strong everywhere. Another thing, you know, the natural part of this is if you look at robotic stuff, when guys are setting stuff up robotically for SEO, they don't time it. They let it run across 24 hours at the same speed. We're running the majority of our searches in local time between 7 a.m. and 9 p.m. When I say the majority, it's not all of them, but it is heavily weighted on that because that's natural. We look at what's natural and we emulate that. We replicate that. And the other thing, it's multi-platform. This works on Android phones. It works on iPhones. It also works on computers. We are limited to Windows 10 and Mac on the computers. And on the iPhones and the Android, you guys need to have some recent equipment. Okay. Our software, the software that Chris and his team has developed, it runs on the latest technology. I mean, this stuff wasn't even, you couldn't do this a few years ago. So if you've got like old Android phones that are in the back of your dresser that haven't been used in 10 years, that's not going to work.
Will it work on my Palm Pilot?
I don't actually know. The best devices for this are the actual phone, the Android phones, and
That'd be a big no.
yeah. I didn't want to be harsh, but
oh man, I'll have to upgrade to a flip phone.
Yeah, if you've got an old BlackBerry from the 80s, it might be a pass.
Can I use my pager? Go ahead. Sorry, guys.
No. It's really a good point.
I'm the comic relief.
That's perfect. We always need that. But this is cutting edge technology that we're using here. So if you've got I'm going to kind of get into this too, of how many devices you need to make this thing really sing for you. But I'll also share with you where to get them if you don't have enough. So pretty cool stuff. But let me show you the network. This screenshot was actually taken about 2 months ago, I think. And if you look at it now, you can't even see that it's the United States. It's just, you just see the devices just cover it. It's crazy. And then here's one showing more of the world, and I was talking about South Africa, and you can see the devices already starting to populate down there, throughout India, Europe, Australia, New Zealand. So we've got these things going. This works worldwide. That's one of our biggest questions. They say, I'm in the Ukraine, does it work there? Or I'm in Canada, does it work there? The answer is yes. We have enough devices across the world now that this will work anywhere. Now, if you're in a heavily populated area, all that means is you're going to get more search traffic from the locality. It doesn't mean it's not going to work. You guys out in remote areas, you're still going to get the searches. They're just going to come from a little bit further away, and that's not a big deal. As long as 100% of your searches aren't coming out of Pakistan or India or like what Google knows to look for.
That's a bad signal, isn't it?
Yeah, that is a very bad signal. So here's an example of a CBD. You're talking about something that is very, very competitive. These guys have 40,000 backlinks, and look at where they were down there at the bottom. They were just kind of bumbling along until we threw this on top. And then they did have the big Google dance here. It dropped down, but then look at what happened. It popped right back up. These guys had 3,100 keywords, and we raised it by 7%. It went up 7% when we did this, and their traffic just went flat through the roof. It was crazy. This is actually a screenshot of the app that shows the rank. And notice the date again. This is from 7/23, so this is fairly recent. And when we started, they were NA. NA means that the keyword is not ranking at all. And then here, what is hemp oil good for? That's a major keyword for them. We got them into the first spot. Healthy hemp oil. They're selling this for health benefits. So that's a screenshot right off of our app. The app is really cool. It shows you where your keywords are ranking, so you can look at it. You can track it anytime you want. You just pull up your phone, click the little icon, and it'll show you where you're ranking. Pretty cool stuff. This is a luxury real estate. This one's actually a little further back. This goes back to March. And this is a client that I had been working on for probably 3 years. I never had them on the first page for anything in 3 years. It was so competitive because this is luxury real estate. Yes, it's in a little tiny place called Crested Butte in Colorado, but here's the deal. The average home sold there is multi-million-dollar. So you can imagine the commission rates. This is high competition. And after running this, we did the screenshot on 325, which was about a month in. And notice I already had quite a few. Well, I already had all of them into 10 or less. Notice 2 days later, after we added more devices and we got a boost in search volume for them, look at what it did. Like this one went from 10, or this one here went from 8 to 1.
And that is a great term right there.
That's in 2 days. So pretty cool stuff here. Here's another one. This is a new one that just got put in. I did the screenshot like literally a couple of days after we put this on the site. And this is for Orange County Property Management. Again, this is Orange County, California for property management. That is pretty competitive. 2 of them already up in the top 10 there. So how does it work? What this does, the apps, when you install this and you've got these apps doing the work for you, what happens is they run a search for your keyword. Whether your keyword ranks or not, it's going to run the search. It's going to scroll Google's search engine pages, their SERPs, looking for your domain. If it does not find you in the first about 5 pages, and again, that's randomized, if it doesn't find you in the top 5 pages or so, it pogo sticks back and it revises the search and it adds your brand. Now, what this does, this is the big yellow important stuff at the bottom of the slide. That shows Google that the searcher did not find what they were looking for. Google did not provide that searcher what they wanted, and Google hates this. That's like a bounce on their own site. You know how much they hate bounce on your site. They don't like it any better on their own. So that's what we're showing. We're showing them a bounce on their own site. And then what happens, once it revises, usually you come up at the top. When you add a keyword or add your domain to just about any keyword out there, that generally brings your site up pretty close to the top on almost anything. So once that happens, our device clicks the link from, and again, it's a real user device. All these actions are all randomized to look like human behavior. It clicks to visit the site. It spends several minutes on average, on average, it spends several minutes on different pages. So it's going to click internal links on your site, and it's going to go to several different random pages. Ultimately, it's going to look for your contact page, and it's going to stop there, and it's going to stay there for about 1 to 4 minutes, and then it's going to close the session. Here's the important part of closing the session. By closing the session out, it shows Google that you found what you were looking for, and Google absolutely loves this. It's like you went to the site, you got what you wanted, you said, okay, I'm done, close out the browser session. That's the ultimate user experience.
For me, I think this is one of the most important slides that I've seen in this whole thing, because what this is showing, and correct me if I'm wrong, this is showing how much Google values what actual people do when they're using Google. And it's something that so many other people are ignoring when they try to game the system in some way. They like rapid fire it, or they do all these things that are trademark automatic machine behavior.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's not what this is.
We have actually gotten into not only their head, but their patent as well, to find out what it is that they're looking for. And this is it. We are giving them exactly what they want. And then here's the features of this. It ranks what we call traction keywords really, really fast. Like a lot of times you'll find that you're on the 2nd, 3rd, or 4th page for these keywords, and that doesn't do you any good at all. But those are what we call traction words. So what we do is we do keyword research to figure out what are our most valuable traction words, and we use those first. Remember I said the guys that didn't get good results using this were the ones they did exactly opposite of what I told them to do? They didn't do that. So What I encourage you to do is find your traction keywords. This will move them up very quickly. What happens is it keeps your customers longer. If you're doing SEO for clients and you're not ranking them, they're on page 2, 3, or 4, you're not going to keep them very long. If you get them on page 1, you're going to keep them around for a long time. This is fully automated. Once you set it up, it's doing its thing. It's using our network to run these searches for you. So you're not having to do much of anything once this thing is set up. We also have a white label version, because I get this question like every 5 minutes is, oh my God, can I sell this to my customers? Yes, you can. We have a white label version for that. It's available. It does, for the most part, it's real-time reporting, because as the devices are searching, when it finds your site, it basically takes note of where it found it, and it reports that back to the app to display of where your keyword ranks. So it's happening all the time. When all these devices out in the world are running searches for you, they're reporting back where they found you. That updates automatically on your app. Now keep in mind, when a search is run from multiple locations, it might show up in different places. Like let's say the app shows you in the number 3 spot, you run the search yourself and you see it, well, wow, it's on page 3. And you're like, well, this thing doesn't work. It does work. It's showing the actual search result from the place it was run last. That doesn't mean it's going to show the same for everyone. This is something I've done in my trainings. I've had people all over the country, and I say, hey guys, run this particular keyword and tell me where it ranks. And it always ranks differently in different places for different people. So again, Google's algorithm, their rank brain, it knows that stuff. So it's trying to give each user the best results. If enough users demand the same thing, then it starts percolating and it starts spreading that across the entire web. So that being said, that's something I've come across, and I have to answer that question a lot. But it puts you also in full control of your campaigns. You can literally log into your control panel and change these keywords out anytime you want. Like you put traction keywords in, they rank quickly, and then go back and look at what are your new traction keywords that raised up behind it and start pushing those up. Eventually, you'll get some really, really powerful keywords to the top by using this. So setting up a project, let me kind of give you some descriptions here. I've been talking about devices and projects, and I haven't really defined any of that. So what a project is a website. It's a domain. So when you set up a project, basically you're setting up a project based on a domain. What you do is you put multiple brand variations. Again, we talk about doing this safely and naturally. When you add multiple brand variations, those are going to get thrown into the searches randomized. It's going to randomize that activity so it looks totally natural. You can also put in up to 12 keywords in a project. I believe you can put 5 different brand variations, but you can also spread it across 12 different keywords. So if you had a site that didn't have a lot of search activity and you wanted to really kind of vanilla this and make this look really natural, you could throw in all 12 keywords to kind of get this thing cooking. If you were on a site that had a lot of traffic to begin with and you had fairly competitive keywords, you might lower the number of keywords because it will hit them harder. So more searches would go to that particular keyword. Again, on the training, we have online training for this to kind of teach you the best way to use this. And about every couple of weeks, I do an open Q&A to help support all of our members and make sure that everybody is getting the most value out of this. But what happens is once you set that project up, it generates a project code for you. And that project code, you enter that into your devices. And devices, this is like your Android phone, your iPhone, or your computer. You can use it on Android devices that are not phones, but the deal is they go to sleep. So if the device goes to sleep, it's not counting as being active on your project. You're only getting searches from active devices. So what we recommend is we recommend 3 devices connected per project to get the maximum value out of this, which is about 500 searches a month. We found that that's what really moves the needle. So 3 devices per project is optimum. Now, you can use more or less, but here's the thing. The 500 is a default in the projects on our Pro version. If you move up to our agency version, it gives you a little more control. You can actually set the number of searches that you want per project. And again, it's all randomized. So if you say 500, it's going to be there about 500. It might be, 450 one month. It might be 650 another month. It's all randomized. So anyway, that's the whole thing with devices. Devices are actually little computers running our apps. Your cell phone is a little computer. Might be on your laptop, might be on your desktop, but those are all considered devices. Anything that is running our app that you connect your project code to, that's a connected device. A connected device is an app running on a cell phone, an iPhone, a laptop, or computer. So I think I've kind of covered that. A lot of people seem to get confused on that, but I think this way, the way I've just said it now, I think it's pretty clear. Again, we'll have Q&A. If you guys have specific questions, I'll answer those a little more in depth and in detail if you want. But here's what it looks like. This is the actual control panel that you can plug your information into. And I said it takes about 2 minutes to do this. I've done this many, many times in 2 minutes or less. You basically put a name to it. It can be anything. It just identifies the project name. Then you put, this should actually be domain. It says URL, but it's just a .com. This is not for long URLs. This is like whatever your site .com. And the reason for that is we want to find the first instance of the domain. It might find a deep page, but don't put a deep page in here because it will break the system. So just put your domain in there. If you have questions, you can roll over the little question. It'll pop up a helpful hint box. Then you put in your contact email address and your company or brand. This is where you can put up to 5 of them, I believe. When you type in your company name or brand, all you do is you just hit enter and then it gives you a new box and you can put the next one in. Don't put commas in here. These are meant to be one thing per box. So, and a brand, let me give you a kind of a description of what a brand might be, or an example of what a brand might be. Your actual company name could be your brand. Your domain name could be your brand. Your name, your physical name. Like my name is John Limbacher. That could be a brand name for me. If you've got a dental practice or a law firm, you've got all the major practicing dentists and attorneys. Each one of those could be a potential brand. It's anything that's connected to your site. Specific, unique. That's what I'm referring to as brand here. So you want to put a few different variations of that to get started. And then next is your keywords. Like I mentioned earlier, you can put a maximum of 12. We recommend that you start with probably 3, unless you're a new site and you don't have any search volume. If you're in a competitive niche, start with 3. If you're in a less competitive niche or you have less traffic and you're concerned that you don't want to leave a footprint behind or look fishy, just add more. Just, go up to the maximum of 12. And then here's where you put your contact page. Remember, I said it's going to ultimately wind up on your contact page, and then it's going to close the browser session out after a few minutes. So this is where you put that in to show it what your contact page URL is. That is a long URL. So that's actually a deep URL of the actual contact page on your site. Here is allowed searches. This defaults to 500 unless you're on the agency version. Then you can set it to whatever you want. And then this is where the proximity works. You physically just type in your address and we'll grab your latitude and longitude automatically and save project. One thing I want to mention about the address, if you're a home-based business and you're a little mortified to put your address in here for some reason, just put the city in. It's okay. It'll just geolocate the center of the city that you're in. If you're working with clients, just put their city or their address in so it knows where that business is. And then hit Save Project. And what it's going to do, it's going to give you a project code, and that's what you plug into your devices. And then this is what it shows up, like on your cell phone. This is mine right here when I plugged it in. This is back from March. And it was really interesting. Two things about this slide I want to cover. First of all, this is the white label version, so you'll notice it has agency details. So if you had customers, it would show your information here. But the interesting part was my keywords. This is my Internet Dominators site, and I'd never really done SEO on this particular site. And this site had redirected traffic from an older site that I had from 20 years ago. It had probably 100,000 commerce pages from all kinds of weird stuff on it. And when I transferred this over and I combined the two sites, I was ranking for a bunch of junk, garbage keywords that meant nothing to me. I had done some basic link building and some basic SEO stuff like what I do for a lot of my clients just to try and unravel that, and nothing ever worked. It wasn't until I put this on here that it actually fixed it. It actually, now Google is recognizing me for what I want to rank for. And it's white labeled as Marketing Assistant. That's not the name of the product. The product is called SitePop. So you don't want clients going back and figuring out what this actually is. So it's generically labeled as Marketing Assistant for the white label purposes. Anyway, who will benefit? I think this is kind of a ridiculous slide. I don't even want to insult your intelligence. I think if search traffic is important to you, that this is going to benefit you. So I'm going to just kind of skip over that. Here's what you want to do. I mean, imagine being able to control the best traffic on the planet. And I throw that out very loosely because I believe search traffic is the best traffic on the planet. And I'll tell you why. It's because when somebody's searching, they're actually in flow of looking for something. When you're doing any kind of other advertising outside of search, like Facebook, for instance, that is what I call disruptive marketing. You're coming in front of them when they're not looking for you and they're doing other things. That's disruptive. When somebody's on Facebook, let's face it, they're not looking for you. They're looking to see what their kids posted, what their friends are doing, all of that kind of stuff. They're in entertainment mode. So if you're going to try and advertise to them when they're not in flow, you better be really, really good at advertising. You better be really good at hooking them, because it's going to be really hard. Your search traffic, they're actually in flow looking for you. And I got to tell you, if you're selling something, that's the best time that you could show up in front of your prospect, is when they've got their hand up and they're saying, hey, who can help me with this? That's what search traffic is. And I guarantee you it's the best traffic on the planet. Imagine being able to compete with major brands. Imagine having the power to actually compete with those big brands, because no one else can do it right now. This is something no one else has. You'll be able to get sites ranked when no one else can. And the big thing, you cannot get this. Like I said earlier, you cannot get this anywhere else. I don't know of anyone doing what we're doing. I know a lot of people tried. Yeah, go ahead.
John, I've got a feature suggestion for you. Sometime in the future, can you make it so that when one of your clients searches on one of these keywords and they finish in front of their competition, that at the competitor's office, it plays a sad trombone each time? And it goes, wah, wah, wah.
That sounds like a great feature. I'm going to have to talk to Chris about that one.
I'm on it. That's so good.
Oh, that's classic.
Because that's really what this is. You're stepping in front of your competitor when they're not expecting it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And the only question left that some people might have in the back of their mind is, does this thing really work? And that's a valid question. I mean, when I hear outrageous claims, I think the same thing. I know what you're thinking, but yeah, it does. I mean, we have case studies, we have testimonials, we've got proof. We can show proof all day long. This was one of our beta testers, Andrew W., and they all say the same thing about moving multiple sites up multiple pages. This one, I wanted to kind of feature this and point it out too. Google My Business rankings. We didn't make this for that, but one of the things we've noticed, because the Google My Business listing is tied heavily to the authority of your website. So when we train RankBrain that your site's important, that factor percolates right over to your Google My Business ranking.
That's huge.
Yeah, a lot of the guys have been reporting back that they're now in the 3-pack. So that's really cool. Here's another one. Matt, a new user, he says, I pushed your tool to the limits and came out victorious. He actually later sent me results of what that meant, and it was pretty phenomenal. I need to add that to the portfolio here. But here's another one. This was on page 6 with a lot of competition. Brand new keyword I never ranked for. Low competition, number 1. Let's see, worse than page 10. A lot of competition. So now he's number 9 and number 5. So that's pretty cool. Here is Anthony. Anthony is actually one of our resellers, and he used this as a test for a Spanish flamenco guitarist, and that's not a misspelling. That's actually a Spanish term. And his client found himself in position 3 and called Anthony to congratulate him. Said this stuff works. So that's pretty cool when you hear these stories and you get this kind of feedback. This is Will. Will is a beta tester. I'll tell you a little bit about Will. He's a very in-depth guy. He does a lot of testing. He runs Pro Rank Tracker to track all of his keywords. And even though he was only doing a few keywords for this, he noticed that 50 to 60% of his keywords show some improvement after using this. That's what I said. You don't have to do this on a bunch of keywords. When Google recognizes you're an authority, they start ranking all kinds of keywords for you. It's kind of like the water inside of a harbor. When the tide rises, all the ships go up. So that's what's happening with your keywords. When your authority rises, it rises all of your keywords, not just the few that you're putting in here. This is Andrew, an agency owner, said we were able to snag 2 top 10 rankings within 2 weeks for our first client that we put into the system. Not too shabby. So again, I love these. This is my client site ranking jumped several spots to page 1 after running SitePop over the last 2 weeks. A lot of people ask me, how long does this stuff take? There's no way for me to tell you how fast this is going to work for you. This is for family dentists in a particular area here, and these are actual screenshots that he sent. Previously ranked on page 2, position 7th, now page 1, the 9th position. Here's another one from page 2 in the 9th to page 1 in the 6th. These are good keywords. These are family dental keywords for a particular location for this dentist. So this is really good stuff. And here's the micro workers. Remember, I've mentioned this a couple times now in the presentation. You could use these guys, and here's the big reason why you wouldn't. It's going to put you in a footprint, and they're going to see that all these guys are coming out of overseas and from these little locations. It's not good. But the other thing about it is, let's look at what it would cost you to do that. To get 500 searches from micro workers in India, about 25 cents each for them to run these searches manually for you. They're all going to come off the same devices. The project, it cost you $125 a month, but that's not the worst of it. The worst of it is the time to manage those guys. Can you imagine how much time it would take you to manage those guys and make sure they were doing this right, not doing stuff that's going to get you wiped out? That's the big headache right there, is the management. So here's I love this slide. What if
you might get wiped out anyway because they're all coming from India?
Exactly. But this one, I love this slide. What if I told you I could give you 500 searches a month for under $10 and automate the process? That's what we've done with SitePop. So here's the two packages that we're offering. We have a pro package. Remember I talked about projects. You get 10 projects for $97 a month. The first, it's $297 to get into the network. And basically, we've upped this. This says 2 months. We're actually giving you 3 months for free. So you're going to get either one of these, whichever one you buy. I need to update this slide because that is 3 months. So you guys are going to get 3 months for free if you act fast. We were going to do 2 because I'm telling you, this is an expensive network for us. We're really stretching this out to give 3 months, but we decided to do it. We just decided that this morning. That's why I forgot to update this particular slide. But 3 months for $297 to get in. So you're not going to have another payment until your 4th month, basically. And same thing with the agency. Look at this. You get 50 projects for just basically $197 a month on your 4th month. So it's $497 to get into the agency. That gets you your white label. It gives you up to 600 search keywords and up to 25,000 searches per month spread across those 50 projects. So like I had said before, you've got 10 projects here, you've got 50 projects here. You get 12 keywords per project. So that's 120 if you use all 10 projects, and you get 500 searches per month per project. So if you're using all 10 projects, it's up to 5,000 searches per month for $97 a month on your 4th month. That's pretty crazy. Over here, if you calculate this out, 50 projects on your 4th month for $197, that's about $4 a project. How much could you sell these for to a client?
That's what I was just going to barge in and ask you.
Yeah.
What could someone, and you can either speak with what people are actually doing right now or what, prospectively they could do. And obviously it's going to vary from client to client. But what would something like this typically sell for as a service if you're an agency?
Okay, there's 2 trains of thought. There's my train of thought, and there's everyone else in the world's train of thought. My train of thought is to make it so inexpensive, like what I'm doing here for you guys right now, that it's an absolutely irresistible no-brainer offer, and that would be $97 a month.
And then they retain forever.
And they retain them forever. No one is going to stop paying $97 a month when you're on the first page. If you're doing other work for them, let's say you're doing other higher SEO stuff and you might just want it to work for $4 a month, that's crazy not to use this. It's crazy to give up half the algorithm for $4 a month. You would be absolutely nuts. So I'll talk about the other train of thought for the rest of the world. Agencies don't like to do stuff cheap. An agency might charge $497 a month for this, and it would be worth it. I don't know anybody that's charging $497, but I know some agencies that are charging $297 and $397 a month for this, and they're getting no complaints.
In other words, you can have like one client
exactly
paying for this service, and you can be using some of those projects, obviously, for your own sites.
Yeah, like 49 of them.
Yeah. See, the reason I ask is because, and anyone who's participating on here, you've seen that we promote products and services to you. pull back the curtain a little bit, and this maybe is dangerous to say, but we always look for stuff, first of all, that's quality, that does what it says on the package, but also it's a big plus if there's a way that you can offer the service to your clients, because then you have an opportunity to have money coming in, which puts money in your pocket, and it pays for that particular app or service or software, whatever it is, so that you're basically getting your own benefit for free. And that's what I see here with the agency side. Always, 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 always look for opportunities to do that, to put money in your pocket and cover your own expense as part of the process.
Yeah, this is a huge opportunity for just that. So we talked about the first bonus was the first 3 months free. That is a limited time. That is expiring Friday night at midnight. We can't leave that open any longer than that. That gives you a $600 value on the agency level and a $300 value on the pro level. It's like you're basically paying for the service with that one bonus alone for those first 3 months. Number two is I have done, and I'm going to do more of these, I'm going to do another one next week, is a live user data case study webinar where I'll put you on, I'll invite everyone that's a current user, part of the system, and what we do is we roll back the curtain and I show you the top strategies that our most effective users are using and what we're using for our own clients and what really makes your sites pop. So that's another huge value bonus. And number three, this bonus was recently added and it's for agencies only. This is the white labeling. I showed you guys what the white label looks like. So when you do client work, they only see your white label. They just, all roads point back to you. And then we've got a WordPress template for a funnel to actually sell this to your end users. I don't know if any of you guys have Kartra, but if you have Kartra, I have a full funnel in Kartra. And both of those are free to you guys, whether you want the WordPress template or the full-blown Kartra funnel. The only difference in the WordPress template is you just plug in your own autoresponder and your own database and your own shopping cart and all that kind of stuff. You just plug that into the WordPress template and you've got a fully functioning sales page. And I actually show you the system of how I sell it. So it's using my copy that's been very, very effective to sell this to end businesses, local businesses, big businesses. It doesn't really matter. One of the things about selling this, a lot of times when you go in to make a sale of SEO, it's difficult because they probably already have an SEO guy. Well, I can remove that obstacle for you because you don't have to overturn their SEO guy. You can come in and say, look, for $97 a month, I can make the thousands of dollars a month you're already spending actually work. That's a pretty good offer. And they don't have, it's a no-brainer. They can say, oh, I can just add this on top and it'll make everything work. And you say, yes, that's all it takes. So what do you think is going to happen when you come in at $97 and your stuff actually moves the needle? You think they might want to have a different conversation about you taking over their whole SEO program? I think they might.
And the sad trombone plays at the other SEO companies' office.
Exactly. So, you know, there's some pretty compelling reasons to give this thing a shot. And then, you know, the other thing, I get this, which this is a hidden objection. This is one that nobody says, but it's actually there, is why are you giving this away so cheap? And I'll tell you, it's a little self-serving on our part. We want to build this network. We want it to be where you cannot see the entire world. We want the globe covered by our devices. So that's why we're doing it. We're not going to be doing it forever. Once this network populates and it's unstoppable, the prices will be going up, but not for any of you guys. Anybody that gets in now, you are locked in for life. Those prices, like if you get into the agency and it's $197 a month, that's your price. That's going to stay there. That will remain. So if you want to rank, basically what you need to do, the only thing you need to do is go to site-pop.com/Lightspeed. And you should go there at light speed. So that's pretty much it. As far as the prices, we can kind of go back to the price sheet here again, and you can see this is what you'll get at that. The only difference is you're going to get 3 months. You are actually going to get 3 months if you do this before Friday at midnight. If you don't do it by Friday at midnight, you're not going to get that deal. So you'll be paying $497 to get in, but it's not going to be for the 3-month deal. So, you know, I could go on and on and on about this, but we've got, you know, we have agency testimonials coming out our ears. This is one from a Mango branding company. They would recommend this to any business. It immediately increased their traffic. Again, like I said, we've got these things just stacked on top of each other. People love this service, not only for themselves, but from the agency perspective. And we've got a ton of these. We have a ton of screenshots for different types of businesses. I have not yet found a business that this didn't work for. This is Google's algorithm. This works for all of them. This is a marina. Here's a mattress company. Here's a tech company. I think this is Chris's semiconductor company. He used this. This has been a client of his for a very long time. And this is what moved the needle for him.
Yeah, take a look at that bump. That was awesome.
Yeah, here's a wine company. And again, people love these bumps. In SEO, when you can bump them up to the front page, even bump them to the top of the front page, that's like gold. Here's automotive, you know, that's a local type business, auto repair. Here's a business community. They were bouncing around, you know, nowhere, and then all of a sudden through the roof. There's pest control. So, I mean, this thing works for everything. There's a charter company out of Australia, same deal. A little bit of a Google bounce, but then back on up. Here's one from the UK. It's some sort of a project company in the UK. Very, very successful for them as well. And so, you know, there's not really a lot more to say about that other than, you know, if you've got some questions, Chris, and
yeah.
Todd, let's hit the questions.
All right. So one of the questions that we got a couple of times, which is, does this work for other languages? Any answers? Go ahead, John.
Yeah, I think you were going to say yes, but
the simple answer is yes, but it's actually really interesting.
Yeah. The answer is really anything that you put in the search, it's going to run a search. So language does not matter.
Search is a search is a search is a search.
Exactly. You know, I was actually at Google one time. Google paid me as a consultant to come in and try and break their system. And that's a really interesting story, but I'm going to confine it to one observation I made when I was there. I was sitting in the lobby, and above every doorway in the Google facility in Mountain View, they have a ticker tape going across over every doorway. And I'm like looking at this gobbledygook, and I asked somebody, I go, what is that? You know, what the hell is that? And they said, that's live searches going on at the moment. It's just, you know, they're pulling out random live searches, and that's what people are searching. And I got to tell you, I sat there in amazement for about 20 minutes. I never saw one search phrase that I actually recognized as coherent. It was just crazy stuff. You would not believe what people are searching for.
Did they filter the dirty stuff out?
No, there was no filtration, and there was there was like just searches for different countries, different languages, just all kinds of stuff. It was really fascinating. But yeah, so it definitely, Google is not just English. They recognize every search phrase in every language you can imagine. So if you had the ability to manipulate that in other languages that are even, you know, not as sophisticated as ours, you know, most of the people trying to game the system are doing it in English. So this gives you a huge advantage in other languages.
Yeah, massive advantage.
Yeah.
So there's another question in here which is really interesting, and I think we should circle back on this concept so everybody's real clear about this. Here's the question. Is Google tracking duplicate IP addresses for the 3 devices? Now, that's an interesting question when you don't understand how this process actually works. So I think this is a great learning opportunity because
Sure.
if you remember, when you have the 3 devices that are out there, you're not necessarily searching for your own projects. Everybody else is searching for your projects. And then basically the searches that happen on your devices may or may not be for your own, but there will be searching for other people's projects. So it's basically a, hey, if you do some searches for me, I'll do some searches for you type of process. So remember, we work as an entire group. So you remember that map that showed all that coverage across the United States. It's like that in Europe and stuff as well. That means that you have all those people working for you. So the answer to that is that yes, Google does look for the same IP address doing the same searches, but it's just not going to happen because we're pretty careful about that. And yeah, everybody else is doing your searches. So we really want this network to be as big as possible, which leads into another question, which is, are you going to limit the number of people going into SitePop? And the answer to that is, why would we? Because the bigger the network is, the better it works for everybody. Now, that being said, we only have a certain amount of outreach, so there's not going to be like a jillion people in this. It's going to be very kind of a niche product that not a lot of people are in, but it's to everyone's advantage to have this network be as large as possible, so we have more people to search for our stuff.
Yeah, it's like those that know, that's kind of the limitation. So you guys are part of a very good group here because you're in the know. The other thing too I wanted to elaborate on that's kind of a variation of the first thing about the IP is I get this question a lot is, what if I've got 10 devices and they're all at my house running off my own Wi-Fi?
Right, that occurred to me.
Yeah, that is perfectly fine. I mean, think about this. If you were in an office building or a Starbucks or something that had, hundreds, if not thousands of people on the same Wi-Fi network, Google understands that. That's a natural thing. That's not like out of the ordinary. And especially when, think about each device, I said it only runs about 16, 17 searches per day. It's not like these devices are workhorses doing crazy stuff. It all just blends into what is naturally happening in the world. So none of it stands out as being fishy. So pretty cool.
So here's another one too. In fact, that kind of leads on to the fact, which is like I was working with a guy yesterday who had 47 devices.
Ooh.
In his office, and he took a picture of it and sent it to me. I should send that to you, John. It's pretty funny. It's a bunch of Android phones all stacked up on each other. It's a big pile of Android phones. Now, that leads into the fact that, you really don't need to do that. I don't know why he did that. Actually, I do know why, because it's a national keyword that he's going after and he needs a lot more searches. But for a lot of the smaller campaigns, we have all of our customers. They have these devices set up on their own phones and on their own computers at their own office. So we don't have any of their devices on my personal phone or on any of the phones that I use for my personal stuff. So that makes some people kind of nervous. But what we found is that the customers that we're working for are really anxious to be able to participate and help where they can. So instead of the pushback that you might think that they have, they're actually very gracious and very accepting when you explain what it's going to do and how it works. They're very open. They're like, yeah, we can install these. We've got 20 computers in our office. We'll put it on every one of them, is the response. We haven't had one person push back yet and say, this sounds fishy. Or actually, the only reason that they push back is they say, well, we have an IT department, and they don't let us install anything on the computers that they don't install. And so that's the exception. And so what we do at that point is we say, well, can you install this on your phone? Well, yeah, I can install this on my phone. Everybody has a phone in the office. Well, there you go. So we install it on their phones, and it works for Android and iPhones. So we haven't had any problems so far having these installed. So don't stress out about like having to have 42 different devices for the 10 projects that you're running or whatever. You don't need it. Just talk with your customers, explain that, the searches are important and this is how we accomplish it. And you'll find I think you'll be surprised how accepting and open they will be to install these, and they'll be very eager to get it done.
Yeah, I've found that too. And for those of you that are jumping in on the agency version, I've actually addressed that in the copy for you, and I make it a takeaway. I make it be a qualification for them to even get the service if they qualify. And all of a sudden they're like, well, what do I have to do to qualify? And I say, well, you have to have at least 3 phones to connect our devices to, so this can actually happen for you. And I have never seen anybody say anything other than, oh, that's not a problem. So yeah, so that's never really been an issue. The only people that have had that as an issue is just they hadn't really thought it through.
Well, in a way, what this is doing is getting back at Google for not naturally ranking them high anyway.
Exactly.
So, hey, if you want to get back at Google, you got to do this.
Yep.
You can be part of the secret group.
So here's an interesting question I haven't seen before. It says, how newbie friendly is this? For example, if somebody doesn't know anything about SEO, can they do this?
You can. The only thing that you would have to be able to do was that panel that I showed you, just fill out some basic information. And for a newbie, you actually have those every couple of weeks. I'm going to be doing those open Q&A calls. So if there was if you needed help figuring out what keywords, I could always assist you in that. There's been a lot of people that both Chris and I have actually set their accounts up because they just, they weren't confident in doing it. I know, we don't want to do thousands of those, but if there are any of you that really do need assistance, we don't mind jumping in and helping you get set up and, just handling that for you.
Okay, that's about all the questions here.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so
I did see one other question. It said, John keeps pointing to the Pro version having 3 months free instead of 2 months. Is that the same for the agency? Because you haven't said
yes,
if the agency gets 3 months free as well. I think, or maybe you did. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm old.
Yeah,
but,
no, if I didn't, I apologize. But yes, both of them.
Okay.
Whatever you get today, between today and Friday at midnight, you will get 3 months free. And when you go to the actual sales page, when you go to site-pop.com/Lightspeed, you'll see it right there. It'll be on the actual sales page. So there's no confusion about it. I apologize. I really meant to update these slides, and it was one of the last things I just fell off of my radar. So
well, we'll take you out back and whip you when this is done. So
yeah, well, I made up for it by giving you the extra 3rd month. So
yeah, and remember, when you get this agency version, like we said earlier, it can easily pay for yourself. So if you want to get free SEO, this is going to be like your only way to do it and get it in a way that no one else is doing it. You just, get 1 or 2 clients on board. And if you're already doing agency work, which you should be doing, you should have some agency side streams of income coming in, doing whatever it is that you do also for your clients. This is something that you can add as a value-added service on there to upgrade them to a higher ticket. And in doing so, it's going to pay for your SEO. It's so simple.
Yeah, and I really encourage you guys to share the wealth of what we're sharing with you and not to gouge your customers on this stuff. Because for a couple of reasons, it's not just because it's good to do, it's going to be good for you. Because when you're running an agency, the worst thing that you can have happen is have attrition.
Yeah.
And the higher you charge for stuff, the more attrition you're going to have. And for something that's costing you literally $4, come on, to sell it for $97, that's a pretty damn good markup. And you won't lose anybody. It's just a good thing to do. And how hard would it be to sell 2 of those in the next 90 days?
Right.
That covers your cost. It's a no-brainer.
Right. Toughest customer to get is always the newest customer. And once you have a customer that's in the door and happy, they will stay with you month after month after month, especially if they're getting results that far exceed the cost of what they're paying.
Yeah.
So that makes total sense.
Yeah.
You are not the only person with that mindset, John.
Okay, well, good, because I know it works. I've been in this business for a very long time, and the more you charge, the more attrition you get. Even if you're doing good stuff, even if you're giving a massive value, it's like when they see that monthly bill, they just, after a while, they just kind of flip out.
Mm-hmm.
For me, they always come back. But generally, when they come back, they don't get the same price.
Right.
All right. Well, I guess if that's it, we've still got. I think we got about 20-something people left on here. If you guys have any questions, please go ahead and put them in the Q&A or the chat, if whichever one's easier for you. And if not, we'll let you just go and get this thing cooking. It's ready to go. I mean, once you sign up, you get access immediately, and you can start putting your projects in there. I've already done like Q&A videos. I've done a best practices video. I'll do another live one here not this week, but next week. I'll do another live one for you guys to help you get started. But everything you need is in there, and you could literally have this up and running this afternoon.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering is like, how long after I sign up, how long is it going to take me to get this done? I saw it's just filling out a form, but I mean, if I need to run through some of the how-to videos, what are we looking at, like an hour or two?
Yeah, we have a basic install video that I recommend watching in the very beginning. It's probably 15 minutes. And then I've got another on the best practices video. I show you how to use SEMrush software to go in and find your traction keywords. And I think that video's maybe 45 minutes to an hour. And that's pretty much it. I mean, once you know your traction keywords, anybody can set this thing up in under 2 minutes.
Cool.
I showed you guys. You saw the page that you set up.
Yeah, it's just a simple form.
Yeah, it's a simple form with not too many things to fill in, and nothing should really be a mystery. I mean, you should know your domain name. You should know your email address. You should be able to come up with your brand names pretty quickly and paste your keywords in, put in your address, and that's really about it.
Awesome. What kind of support do you offer if someone has a question that's not covered?
We have a support desk that's open, and Chris and I both monitor that pretty regularly. We're not like on there like every minute of every day, but certainly with the same day, we're getting answers back to just about anything that comes through.
Cool.
Yep, and once you jump in there, there's going to be a support link right at the top of the software when you log in. So it's a big blue question mark. You can't miss it. And when you click on that, it'll go right over to our support section, and we can answer any questions you guys have.
Yeah. Here's a question that just popped up. If I'm promoting my own sites, do I need more than 3 devices? Can I piggyback projects with timed searches? So I guess that's 2 questions. With the devices now, I mean, you guys can answer this, but let me take an amateur try here to make sure I understood this. The sites that are, or the searches that are run on your devices, like I buy in right now and I've got everything installed. The searches that are running on my devices are for everyone else's sites, not for my own.
Correct. It might run yours as well, but your device becomes part of the network. And naturally, because your device is going to be in that close proximity, it is going to draw on your device to run your own searches as well, but it's not just yours.
Right. So 3 devices is the minimum. More can be done, not necessary, but it doesn't hurt. But you don't have to go hog wild like that guy with the stack of.
It's actually the other way around. You don't have to. It doesn't require 3 devices.
Oh, okay.
It does require at least 1.
Okay.
And in each device that you add will get you about 166 searches per month.
Gotcha.
So if you connect 3, you're going to be getting the max bang for the buck.
Gotcha.
That's where you're going to get your full 500 searches a month. And the guy that put extra in, he was actually an agency version where you can customize the number. Like you could add additional searches to each project, where in the Pro, it's just 500. If you don't want 500, just don't connect 3 devices. Just connect 1 if you want 166.
Right. If you want to have less traffic. And
Yes.
all that, which sounds weird to me, but maybe there's a reason for that.
I've actually had like probably a dozen people so far that they were a little freaked out because they're so scared of getting banned. And I just told them, I said, look, if you're freaked out, use all 12 keywords and just put 1 device in and just see what happens.
Yeah.
It'll just do things a lot more mild. If you want to do mild, it'll do mild.
And the other part of the question was, can I piggyback projects with timed searches?
I'm not really sure I understand that, but if they can get a little more clarity on that.
I think what they may be saying is, can we use the same device for multiple projects? And the answer to that is no. And you don't need to, because really that device is going to, you can't do it with you can't have 1 device attached at different times to different projects. It's just like you need at least 1 device for each project. It's not hard to do. So have at least 1 device connected and active. And be careful too, like if your computer goes to sleep at night, it's not going to do you or anybody any good, because it's going to shut your project off for more than half the day. Okay. So you're going to have a difficult time getting the searches if your computer's off, because if you're not participating in the network, you're not getting searches. It's only fair for the people who have active and running devices to be able to, have other people search for them. It's not fair if yours is turned off all the time and you're getting all the benefit.
Right. So turn that sleep mode off and just turn your monitor off.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah, that was one thing that I got kind of hit with in the beginning. I went on to eBay and I bought a bunch of tablets, and I didn't realize the tablets go to sleep. So I wasn't sure, why I wasn't getting what I was supposed to get out of it. And Chris says, "Oh, well, your tablets are all asleep." And I'm like, "Oh, okay."
So tablets aren't the best. You can get them set up so they don't go to sleep, but it's kind of a hassle, and you got to leave them plugged in and stuff like that.
Yeah. So the cell phones are really the best bet, and then followed by the desktop devices, laptops, stuff like that. But you can get the others to work. But like Chris said, if you're an advanced user and you know how to set your settings and get them to not sleep, then you're good to go. Yeah. But I think I forgot to mention this earlier on. I told you guys I would share where to get these things, and I've been successfully buying them off of eBay. And what's the other one, Chris, that...
it's AliExpress. So it's Alibaba, but it's the AliExpress website.
Yeah, AliExpress.
They run for about $30 or $40 or something like that. It's really cheap.
Yeah. I've gotten them anywhere between $20 and $30, and I've seen a lot of them in the $40 to $50 range. But again, you don't really need to buy a bunch of them unless you're, if you're using them for yourself, then yes. But seriously, you probably have family members, friends, colleagues, people that would easily install an app for you, because they don't have to do anything. They just plug the project code in and it runs in the background. They never have to touch it.
Kids.
Yeah. And remember, it's not going to take up a lot of either power on your phone or bandwidth either. Because remember, it's like maybe 2 searches an hour. So it'd be like you go into Google and typing in a keyword twice an hour.
Yeah, that's nothing.
It's nothing. I mean, I did it. In fact, somebody was complaining that it was eating up all of their battery. And so I went just as a curiosity, because I've really never looked since we since we developed it. And it used 264 kilobytes of data over the last week. So only 200K of data. And then for the power, it couldn't even, it was so infinitesimal, it had a line next to it.
So he had something else running on his phone,
power.
Chewing it up.
Yeah, so I worked with him to find out like what was really chewing up his power, and it turns out his kids had some video game, or some video games loaded on the phone that were just like eating it alive.
Yeah, someone said your kids. I've got 2 kids at home, and we're paying for their cell phones. So Hell, put them to work.
Yeah.
That app on those phones.
Those are little tools. Let's put them to work. Yeah.
Did you call my kids tools?
They're depreciating assets. Sorry about that.
There you go. That's more like, no, they're tools. They're tools. But I love them.
Kids are great.
All right, guys. Well, listen, it's right at the 2-hour mark, so we probably should be wrapping that up unless you guys see another question. I don't see any unanswered anymore, so I think that that's going to do it, guys. John, if you don't mind mentioning maybe a support desk or support desk email for you and Chris, in case anyone has any future questions, they can email you guys and maybe get a response there.
Sure, yeah. You can always reach me at john@internetdominators.com. Or if you just go to internetdominators.com, I've got the support desk right there at the top right-hand side of the page, and you can get questions into me very easily. And then once you're in the program, you'll have access to the help desk in there as well, and that'll get access to both me and Chris.
All right, cool. Thanks for that, John. Guys, I just want to kind of reiterate here. On the screen, you see first 2 months free, but it's kind of a typo there. Actually, it's not a typo. It just wasn't updated properly because a few days ago I was twisting John's arm pretty hard, made it all red, and made him agree to go to 3 on that.
It still hurts.
Hey, we don't need to know about what you guys do behind closed doors. That's your fault.
So 3 months free, guys. That's on the pro side. That's actually a $300 value. On the agency side, that's obviously a $600 value. And as we discussed before, I mean, we all know someone that runs a business, right? I mean, I was just at my gym this morning and I met a guy, and he's a roofer. He just started there. We got to talking, and I asked him about, of course, he asked me what I did, and I kind of told him a little bit about it. Then we got to discussing, well, where do you rank? And he's kind of like, I'm not really sure. I don't think at all. I was like, well, do you get any leads off the internet? No, not really. And I was like, okay, well, who's handling your, internet marketing? And he's like, oh yeah, we have a guy. And I'm like, oh really? How long is that? How long have you been, had somebody doing that? He said, oh, about 6 months.
Ooh.
I said, oh, okay. I said, so you've been paying someone for 6 months and you don't have any leads coming in. You don't even know where you rank for like these, we're not in the big city of Dallas. We're in a suburb of Dallas. And he's like, yeah, no, I don't think we're ranking at all. And I was just like, okay, well, we need to talk then probably. So right there in and of itself, I'm going to take a look at his site and check his the health of it and his on page, which is kind of the simple SEO stuff. Which you can get that if you don't know what I'm talking about there. That's a Google search away to understand what on-page optimization is.
Right.
And it's really not that difficult. It's all about your content, structured data, things like that. But yeah, once we get him healthy, then he's going to get right on this for a couple $100 a month.
And this the amount of work involved in doing this portion of the SEO is so minimal. Once you know what you're doing, that it's so simple to say, look, hey, I'll give you a free month. I'll set you up. Let's see what happens. And when they see something happening, they will want to pay you.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. And one of the biggest benefits, and one of the reasons why we wanted to give the first 3 months free, is so that you'll already have that recurring revenue coming in,
right?
And you won't be out of pocket paying, for the monthly service fee that supports this network. And guys, I know everyone hates those monthly fees, but you know what? This isn't a digital download and nobody supports it. Okay, this is a real technology that needs to be supported, needs to be updated. I have a development team myself, and I've been building software all my entire life. And when you start talking about developing things that mess with big live properties like Google or Facebook or eBay or anything like that, you know what? Changes are being made on a daily basis. Something disrupts what you're doing quite often. There's just no question about it. I deal with it every single day myself. And, those guys that work for free, we all have to eat. We all have kids. We all have a life to live. So obviously, there's a lot of salary and a lot of payroll that goes into the back end of this. So I hope you can appreciate that this isn't something that's unsupported, that if a problem arises, that it's not going to get resolved instantly. Chris's team is phenomenal. I actually met the CTO recently in Barcelona, Spain at one of our mastermind events, and he's actually a Texan named Todd himself, and just like me. So really great guy, super, super smart, have all the faith in the world in him to keep everything running and everybody on the same page. So I just really wanted to point that out there about the monthly fee and how to overcome that. And not be disappointed that there is one. I think you should be. It's better that there is one.
Yeah, support doesn't come for free.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the reason for it. It's not so that we can all take a vacation on your monthly fee. No, it pays people to live. Really. So
the 3 months free deal is good until Friday evening, like midnight Eastern time, or when does that? When does that cut off? Oh, yeah, Pacific time. It says right there.
Yep, midnight.
I can't read.
Yeah, midnight Pacific time. The timer on this screenshot is off. But anyway, just go to site-pop.com/Lightspeed, and all the details are right there on the page. You can't miss it. So take advantage of that. And go out there and get to work. The last thing I want to mention about that is I don't know anybody that wants to rank in Google. I don't know anybody that, which is, I mean, people come to our houses all the time to fix stuff, or the lawn guy, or the cleaning lady, or you interact with local businesses on a daily basis. Everyone does. So if you sit there and tell me that you don't know anybody that runs a business, they may not be your personal friend. But you see people and you know people, you run into people. And it's not hard to start that conversation pretty quickly if you're just friendly. Right. Just like at the gym today, I was just having a general conversation with a guy, being friendly, and then boom, there we go. Now I've got a client. That, or here's another idea. Go to Google, type in a keyword, type in your local keyword, perhaps, if you want to deal with people locally. People always buy from a smiling face rather than an email sometimes. Depends on how broad you're going, how fast you're going, how much you want to scale. I'd recommend when you're getting started, kind of be friendly with people, kind of do it face-to-face, get your, really, really close the deal. But go to page 2. Go find all those sites that are on page 2, because if they're on page 2, they're healthy. They're not penalized. They don't got a lot of junk going on in them. They're just sitting there ready for the taking. Approach them, offer them, a good 97 to 197 a month deal. Maybe give them a guarantee. Hey, if you're not on page 1 in 3 months from page 2 to page 1, or you can do it how you want. Maybe if you're not up 5 spots in 3 months, I'll give you a month free. Okay, you can kind of work with them, especially if they're brand new to you. I know that on the website, the SEO booster page that John mentioned earlier, it comes with that, right? And it's part of the sales conversion process on that page that guarantees them to be at a certain place in a certain amount of time, or a certain amount of it's free. Okay. So there's all kinds of ways to overcome the objections on that. We've thought about this, guys, another thing, the last thing that I will mention, that, if you get involved in the program, you start getting involved in some of John's weekly masterminds, some of his weekly trainings, Chris as well. I'm probably going to be around as well. You're going to learn a lot. We haven't been in this business our entire adult lives for no reason. It's because we know what we're talking about generally. And we've been doing this a long time, long enough to know how to do it right. All right. So I just want to throw that out there. Pat, thanks again for hanging around there. Thanks for all your comedic relief and great questions.
Well, and hey, something I want to add on just really super quick about what you said. Going to the businesses who are on page 2 for a term is a super idea. And I experienced this not long ago. I was talking to someone who their business was on page 2 and they thought it was really good. They said, hey, I'm on page 2 of Google. That's fantastic. And I said, well, hold on a second though. When you search for something yourself, for whatever it is, how many times do you go to page 2 to look for results? And they went, oh.
That's where the mafia hides all their dead bodies, is on page 2 of Google.
Yeah, because page 2, if you're on page 2, he said, obviously, that means they're not penalized. That's good. But you may as well be on page 200, because page 1 is where everyone searches and looks. And when they scroll, if they don't see what they're looking for, 9 times out of 10, they'll go back and search for something else. They won't go to page 2. So when you talk to someone who is currently on page 2, point out the human behavior part of it. Ask them how many times they themselves go to page 2 for something they're searching for. And say, look, really, what would it be worth to move from page 2 to page 1? It sounds like a small move, and physically it is, but results-wise, it's a massive move.
Yeah, without a doubt, 100%. You're 1,000% right there, Pat.
So thanks a lot, guys. This is fantastic stuff.
Yeah, it really is. We're really excited about it. Very excited about it. I found out about this new product back in March, and then just kind of been working with them pretty closely, and getting the outreach out there a little stronger to bring in more people to bring in to make the network stronger. Because I'm already using it, and I'm already seeing results. And as John went over the slide and showed you how easy it was to set up, how many times we've reiterated how long it takes to set up a campaign, and I was in and out and done in less than 10 minutes. Installed it, on a new device, phone, PC, set them up, off I went. It was the easiest SEO job I'd ever done. And I'm already seeing movement after a week.
That's awesome.
On SpiderSpanker. So it's got some competition there too. On page 2, but I'm moving on up. All right, guys. Well, that's all I got. John, Chris, any famous last words?
Nope. Thanks for being on with us today. And appreciate you, Pat.
Thank you.
That's it for me too. Yeah, thank you very much, and we look forward to working with everybody and popping your sites to the top.
Site-pop.com/lightspeed.
Site-pop.com/lightspeed. It's there. All right, guys. Everyone have a great rest of your week, and don't work too hard. Talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.